Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I hope you're all doing well. It's a fine spring day here in Northern England. Happy Saturday. Look, I've only got an hour. I've only got an hour today to spend with you because I've got to be somewhere. So let's crack on. So we're going to talk about the Idaho college murders, the Idaho 4 case, and another court filing. This is one of the filings that I didn't cover in my live stream yesterday, and it's regarding the 911 call. There's the section of the transcript from that 911 call that has been released in the court filings, and it has set social media and some of mainstream media alight with speculation, and I can't quite get my head around why this is so controversial. Like, Twitter is going nuts over it. Like, Brian Kohlberger and Idaho 4 have been trending. They were trending the other day for like 2 days, at least on the version of Twitter that I see. And they're trending again. I don't get it. I don't get why this is so controversial. But we're going to read the filing together, and maybe you can tell me. Like, some people are saying that this shows that the surviving roommates did something, a suspect in some way. But I've had a few people who've reached out and asked me to do this one. So without further ado, let's do it. Shall we do it? Let's do it. Let's say a couple of hellos first. We got Mimi, we got Yvonne, Angie Baby, good afternoon to you. Terry, Down Under with Love, good evening. Baby Babe, Poppy Merle, Eileen, Aqua Blue, Baby Babe, Linda, Ali, Chris, Jadzia, and Cheryl. Hey, I got right down to the end of the chat. Maybe people are sick of seeing this. I mean, it's literally been all over social media for about the last 24 hours. So maybe people aren't interested. Maybe people have just turned off. Okay. All right. Here it is. So this is a state filing. And this is the state asking, motion in limine, asking the judge that his permission to include the 911 call in the trial, because it's classed as hearsay. Is this an Idaho thing? Because I'd never have previously classed a 911 call as hearsay. Like, it was the same with the text messages between DM and BF. That was the purpose of that filing, was for the state to ask Judge Hippler permission to include those text messages as part of their case, because they're hearsay. I don't understand how they're hearsay, but I don't know. Maybe it's an Idaho thing. The Unnamed True Crime Channel, thank you so much for the $10. Been in a similar situation and would love to tell you all about it. I didn't call for help either. I think people if people heard my story, they'd understand why these girls didn't call for help. Yeah. I mean, look, I don't know your story, but I can understand why at the time when they were texting, why they didn't call 911. I can understand it. Like, they weren't sure. Like, DM wasn't sure what she'd seen. Like, it's a party house. This is, 5 roommates sharing a house, and there's people coming and going. So is this just some like visitor of one of the roommates? Not sure why he'd be wearing a mask, but then again, it was November. It was cold. So it could be somebody wearing, like, a ski mask, a balaclava. I don't know what you call it in the United States, but like a hat that covers most of your face as well as your head. We call them balaclavas, and you basically just have your eyes showing, like when it's really cold. And they weren't sure what they'd seen, but DM was kind of spooked by it. She said she was scared. But maybe you're not going to call 911, you know, because you don't know. And there's no way that they could have, in the wildest dreams, realised that that was the killer leaving, having just slaughtered 4 people. It's out of the realms of like understanding that somebody would do that. Is it just me with choppy audio? I don't know. Is everybody else okay with the audio? My sister was brutally attacked in my home. I saw a man and heard noises, but my niece had so many people in and out, I thought it could be a prank or a visitor. I was scared, but yes, that's exactly where I'm going with this. Like, if you're used to having strange people in your house, you're used to people coming and going, you're not going to put 2 and 2 together. You're not going to do that. Exactly. You don't want to look dumb by calling the police, because it most probably nothing untoward, and you just feel silly for being scared by it. Found my sister stabbed multiple times by her ex. That's horrible. It's horrible that you went through that. But exactly. Mine is choppy at times. Audio fine. Audio is good. Okay, so we got a little bit of issue, maybe, possibly for some people. My internet's not the best. I live out in the sticks. I can't get the all singing, all dancing broadband that people in the cities around here can get. It's not got here yet. So I do sometimes have problems with the internet. But audio seems to be fine. Yeah, they've been drinking. It was a Saturday night into a Sunday morning. So anyway, like I said, I've only got an hour. All right. So State of Idaho, by and through the Latah County Prosecuting Attorney, requestfully moves the court for an order in limine, allowing the state to admit the recording and transcript of the 911 call to Whitcomb on November 13th, 2022. Okay. The facts pertinent to the issue raised in this motion can be found in the attached excerpts from the grand jury transcript, the 911 call recording, and the transcript of the 911 call. So some of this is redacted, like the grand jury stuff's been redacted. And the fact that these are redacted also takes away some of the context. Like what we've got at the moment might be only part of the evidence. So we've also got to bear that in mind. So the statements on the 911 call are hearsay, but fall within firmly rooted hearsay exceptions and should be allowed. In general, testimony that is hearsay is excludable at trial. However, there are many exceptions to this rule. Firmly rooted exceptions are Idaho Rule of Evidence 8031, present sense impression, a statement describing or explaining an event or condition made while or immediately after the declarant perceives it. Okay. And then Idaho Rule of Evidence 8032, excited utterance. I love how excited utterance is a legal term. I love it. A statement relating to a startling event or condition made while the declarant was under the stress of excitement that it caused. So excitement doesn't necessarily have to mean like glee or joy. It can mean excited, like you're nervous, like you're going, oh my God, that kind of thing. The requirements of the federal version of each of these rules is best stated in US versus Mitchell, 1998. There are 3 principal requirements that must be met before hearsay evidence may be admitted as a present sense impression. The declarant must have personally perceived the event described. The declaration must be an explanation or description of the event rather than a narration. And the declaration and the event described must be contemporaneous. I've never thought of a 911 call being an issue with hearsay. Anyway, the requirements for a hearsay statement to constitute an excited utterance are a startling occasion, a statement related to the circumstances of the startling occasion, a declarant who appears to have had opportunity to observe personally the event. That in itself makes it not hearsay, doesn't it? It's something that they've actually witnessed, something that they've actually seen themselves. It's not hearsay then, is it? I don't understand. Maybe it's just an Idaho thing. A statement made before there has been time to reflect and fabricate. In Idaho, the Court of Appeals viewed the requirements of excited utterance as follows. So, out-of-court statements must meet two requirements. First, there must be a startling event that renders... Okay, I'm not going to read all that, but... Okay, all right. Calls to 911 can also be deemed present sense impressions and are excited utterances. So there's a bunch of law on this. All right. Statements to paramedics during 911 phone calls made within approximately 1.5 hours of last lewd act were admissible under excited utterances exception. Okay, let's get to this case. There's a bunch of law that they can draw on here to say we can admit these because they are exceptions to the hearsay rules. All right. So, in the case at bar, most of the declarations made were present sense impressions. HJ located the unresponsive body of Xana and informed BF and DM to call 911. EA was present at the time. So HJ and EA are friends of the people in the house. All declarants personally perceived the event that Xana was unresponsive. So she's down in her room. I'd be interested to know exactly where she was. I think that might allay some of the fears that, you know, loads of people on Twitter are saying that, well, surely they saw all the pools of blood. How would they say she was unconscious and unresponsive? If, you know, she's in pools of blood, clearly she's dead. What are they covering up? But we don't know. We don't know whether they could fully open the door. Like, if Xana was behind the door, we don't know how far they could open the door. Maybe they could only see part of her body. There's all sorts of reasons why they might perceive her as unresponsive, unconscious, passed out because she was drunk, or, you know, I don't know, swallowed her own vomit or something other than she's been slaughtered. That's the last thing that would be on your mind. So, again, it would be interesting to know exactly where she was, and I'm sure that we'll find that out at the trial. You know, at the moment, we are seeing part of the information. We're only getting part of the story, which makes it then easy to say, well, what about this, and what about this, and what about this? Well, just wait, because you've only got part of the story. All declarants personally perceived the event. The majority of the declarants were describing that to dispatcher Carolina Calvin what they were perceiving, i.e. present tense impressions. Those statements relate to Xana being passed out and not waking up. The declaration was made immediately after HJ discovered her body. Some declarations made would also be considered excited utterances. Those statements include, oh, and they saw some man in their house last night, yeah. As well as the heavy breathing and crying, heaving breathing, and crying that can be heard throughout the call. The declarants were responding to a startling occasion, discovering an unresponsive roommate. The statement regarding a person being in the home is in direct response to why Xana might be passed out. All statements are made while the declarants are processing what is happening and were made before an opportunity to reflect and fabricate why Xana is unconscious. So, look, we don't know. Like, the dispatch will you know, have picked up maybe some sounds and stuff, people talking in the background, but we don't know what conversations they'd had previously, you know, immediately before this. You know, that DM and BF are saying, well, you know, there was a strange man in the house last night. DM saying, yeah, I was scared. And could it be related? Could it be related? Was this strange man somebody who was there and has harmed Xana? You know, those things might have been said away from the dispatch, you know, away from the phone that the dispatch audio has been caught from. We don't know the full story. And that's not unusual, is it, at this stage? I'm actually surprised with it, that we've had this much information been released about the 911 call. Again, it goes to what I was saying yesterday about Judge Hippler. Seems to be, you know, one judge who wants everything out in the open. He's very transparent. He doesn't want stuff sealed unless it absolutely needs to be. You know, some of the stuff that was sealed, he said, no, release it. Raise your hand if you can't wait for trial. Yes, me. I cannot wait. Cannot wait. Cannot wait. If BK did do it, which I feel is more likely than not, he must be a psychopath, yes. How else could you act so stoic after brutally unaliving 4 people? Yeah, I agree with you. I don't know whether his behaviour fits the accepted diagnosis of psychopathy. I think probably, yeah. I mean, anybody who can do this, you got a bit wrong somewhere, don't you? You're a bit wrong somewhere. And no, that's nothing to do with autism or quote unquote mental defects that Ann Taylor's been talking about. All right. So all statements were made while the declarants were processing what happened. Clearly, the statements of BF, DM, EA, and HJ and the dispatcher Carolina Calvin fall within the hearsay rule. Judge John Judge has already ruled that the 911 call is not hearsay. All right, why are we having this argument then? Like, is everything that Judge John Judge is now like scrapped, and they have to ask Judge Hippler's permission for everything that Judge Judge has previously okayed or denied? Come to that. Is that how this is working? That this new judge has to okay everything? I assume so. So it's already been accepted by Judge Judge. So I can't see any reason why Judge Hippler would deny this anyway. But August 23rd, 2023, defendant moved to dismiss the grand jury indictment. One basis for that motion was that the 911 call was improperly admitted, hearsay, cumulative, irrelevant, and an improper attempt to bolster witness testimony. No, no, I don't agree with that. A 911 call is a 911 call. It does none of those things. You know, it tells the jury how the story began for the people who were witnesses to this. It's necessary to have the 911 call for context, if nothing else. In response, Judge Judge held as follows. Further, even if the 911 call is hearsay, the exceptions for present sense impression and excited utterances apply as the statement made by callers, i.e. the surviving roommates, HJ and another friend who had arrived, were made immediately after HJ discovered Miss Knodle's body and instructed the roommates to call 911. All right. Okay. Sealed order denying motion to dismiss. That was Judge Judge's decision. All right. Regarding the emotion in the callers' voices, Judge Judge further held that the evidence was relevant as to why law enforcement were sent to 1122 King Road, as opposed to just EMS when the call was for an unconscious individual. This testimony was deemed relevant to the effect that it had on Dispatcher Calvin and was not cumulative of Officer Nunes' testimony. So statements made are admissible regardless of whether or not witnesses testify. See, this was the thing that I was wondering yesterday, that would those texts be classed as hearsay if the state didn't want to have DM or BF talk through them? You know, let's say they wanted a law enforcement official to read them into the record rather than putting DM and BF through that. And I wonder whether that was the reason why they were considering it hearsay. But it does seem more like it's an Idaho thing. But any statement found outside of the above exceptions of hearsay are non-testimonial for purposes of Crawford analysis. Further, even if somehow deemed testimonial, the confrontational clause of the Sixth Amendment does not bar their admission. Okay, cool. All right, so based on the above cited authority, the state respectfully prays for the court's approval in limine for the admission of the recordings and transcripts of the 911 call. Okay, so we await what Judge Hippler has to say. All right, let's get to this transcript. So we've got this, which is sealed, the grand jury transcript. That's sealed. And then we've got state's motion in limine, audio file on thumb drive, hand delivered. So the actual 911 call, like the actual audio, that's sealed. So what we've got is this, a section of it. Okay. All right. So it's a little bit confusing because there's several people talking at the same time. The dispatcher, I think, is getting confused. So Q is dispatch. So that will be Carolina Calvin. And then we've got a man, woman one, man two, man three. Okay. Woman and woman one and A2. It's weird how all this has been labelled as well. Okay. Okay. All right. 911, location of your emergency. Hi, something is happening. Something happened at our house. We don't know what. We have, what's the address of the emergency? 1122, no, don't. What's the rest of the address? Oh, Kings Road. Okay. And that's a house or an apartment? It's a house. Can you repeat the address to make sure I have it right? I'll talk to you guys. We're live at the right, so we're next to them. So these are things that's coming over the dispatch. So this is a dispatch. And if you've ever listened to like scanner audio from dispatch, you get a bunch of different voices coming in when stuff's busy. And not all of it is necessarily relevant to the thing that you're trying to listen for. They were up for an hour before they called 911, sus to me. Why is it? Why is it? They were up for an hour. I don't understand. Because at that point, they don't know that anything is wrong. Like DM the night before, or like a few hours before, yeah, she was scared. She wasn't sure what she'd seen. She didn't call 911 for the reasons, maybe, possibly, that we talked about previously. And then she went to sleep. And then they get up in the morning and they still can't rouse the other roommates, but they're still not massively concerned. You know, they might already be out. They might have you know, it's a really busy house. They're all, yes, they're sharing a house, but they're all living their own lives. They all have their own things going on. They're not like joined at the hip. They're not like they're married to each other. They're not like a family who, you know, where a family might know where every other family member is at a particular time, what time they're going out and stuff like that. It's not that kind of situation. These are very young people. It's the first time they've been away from their homes, living on their own, and they're having fun. They're living their college life. So the fact that they're awake for an hour before they call 911, to me, is, given the context, given the circumstances, isn't suspect at all. Because they don't know that anything is really wrong until they actually go look. Dylan can get a hold of them, so she didn't go and check. Didn't need to pee. Well, she might have gone to pee. The toilet isn't in Xana's room, is it? Like, so it's possibly not the first thing on her mind when she wakes up. It's only when she, you know, she thinks back and she thinks, well, no, I couldn't get them last night and I can't get them this morning. I wonder if something's up. And then HJ goes to check and finds Xana unresponsive. Where's all the emotion? Well, we don't know the emotion, do we? Because once you hear the audio, you can, like, the emotion gets put in. When you read it in black and white, you don't feel that same level of emotion. She was downstairs with Bethany. There's a downstairs bathroom. Yes, there is. So they'd have no reason to go upstairs. Like, they're all living their own lives. Again, it's not like they're all joined at the hip. Yeah, they might have parties in the house. Yeah, they might do things together, but they're not all joined at the hip. They don't know what each person in the house is doing at all times. If you've ever lived in a roommate kind of situation while you were at college, maybe you'll understand what I'm trying to say. It would be nice to know the actual truth. Again, we're only having part of the story here because this is just part of a filing. The full version of events will come out at the trial. Exactly. It wasn't a family house. It was a house share. So the immediate, you know, as soon as DM wakes up, she's not thinking, oh, where's such a body? Where's such a body? Where's such a body? I can't hear anybody. It's not like there are kids. And she's thinking, well, where is everyone? It's a house share. They're not living in each other's pockets. They're sharing a house. How could one person have done this? Easily. And not track blood all over the house. Well, perhaps someone who's obsessive compulsive was able to do that. Wouldn't it look like a horrific scene? In the rooms, yes. In Xana's room and in Maddie's room, yes, it probably did. But this is the issue. We don't know how much of the room they could see when they made this call. Anyhow, can you repeat the address? I'll talk to you guys where I'm live at the right. We're next to them. I need someone to repeat the address for verification. The address, 1122 King Road. And what's the phone number that you're calling from? What's your phone number? What's the rest? So that's redacted. Okay, tell me exactly what's going on. One of the roommates who's passed out and she was drunk last night and she's not waking up. No, we saw, okay. Oh, they saw some man in their house last night, yeah? Hi. And are you with the patient? Okay, I need someone to keep the phone. Stop passing it around. So there will be audio that isn't picked up, that isn't transcribable because it hasn't been picked up. So you might have one person saying, yeah, DM saw this and DM saw that and DM told me this, because there's lots of conversations going on at once. Dylan's story is BS. I don't understand. I honestly, look, agree to disagree, but I don't understand how it's BS. It would have smelled. It would have smelled. Yeah, possibly there would have been an order. But unless you know, unless you're actually there in that room, how much of it are you going to actually pick up at this point? It's not like there'd be a lot of active decomposition going on. If she woke up on the ground floor in Bethany's room, she wouldn't see anything. She wouldn't see anything. And there wouldn't be blood anywhere else other than in Xana's room and Maddie's room. So unless you went into either of those rooms, you wouldn't know that anything was wrong. Okay, are you with the patient? Okay, I need someone to keep the phone. Can I just tell you what happened pretty much? What is going on currently? Is there someone passed out right now? I don't really know, but pretty much at 4 a.m. ... And also, like, A is going to tell the story about what DM saw at 4 a.m. And we don't know if A is DM. So A is a woman, so that could be DM, who is about to tell the story of what she witnessed at 4 a.m. But the dispatcher cuts her off and says, okay, I need to know what's going on right now. If someone is passed out, can you find that out? Yeah, I'll come on. We got to go check. But we have to. Is she passed out? She's passed out. What's wrong? Dispatching Moscow Law Ambulance 4. She's not waking up. Unconscious, 1122 King Road. 70 is en route. Okay, one moment. I'll be getting help started that way. Okay, maybe 1122 King Road. All ambulances respond for unconsciousness. 1122 King Road. I copy. 58. Multiple RPs on the phone. Advise saying the roommate on scene is passed out and not waking up. Believes she got drunk last night and about a male being in the room with them. Being around. That one I copy. About 20-year-old female unconscious trying to get further. Copy. Yeah, it's Evan. Okay. How old is she? She's 20. 20, you said. Yeah, 20. Here, do you want to talk to him? Okay. Hello? So this is someone else. So A2. A2's a man. Where are we? There we go. Hello. Okay. I need someone to stop passing the phone around because I've talked to 4 different people. So poor dispatcher, she's not really understanding what's going on. So she can, send the ambulance out. But they're probably all like talking over each other, starting to panic, winding each other up now because they're all panicking. Nobody's thinking really clearly, and the dispatcher is trying to get the story. But before she cut them off, whoever was talking, she cut them off. Like if A is DM, she was possibly going to say at 4 a.m. I saw a man leaving maybe the emotion is, you know, the intensity of it can be picked up, but not the words, not all the words that are being said. We don't know. We haven't heard this thing. We don't know. Okay. Okay, sorry. They just gave me the phone. Is she breathing? Hello? Is she breathing? No. Okay. En route. So A2. So that's the man. Bethany or Dylan, I need you to talking to them. Okay. I can't talk to them. I need you to talk to them. Okay. Hello. So A is either DM or BF. I expect it's DM because she's going to go into the 4 a.m. story previous. Okay, I have already sent the ambulance and law enforcement. Stay on the line. Okay. If there is a defibrillator available, send someone to get it now and tell me when you have it. Units responding, RPs advising. Unintelligible. The patient is not conscious, not breathing. Unintelligible. So this person's probably now like panicking. Like she's not breathing, and I saw a man and blah blah blah, and I can't wake her up. I don't know what she's doing, and we don't know whether she's actually able to touch Xana to ascertain whether she's breathing or not. We don't know if any of them are able to get in the room, or whether they can just put their head around the door and see her lying there. Yeah, Ted Bundy at the sorority house. Yeah, this is a copycat. This is a copycat of that. They didn't even check for a pulse or check airways. We don't know, Britt. We don't know whether they could actually get in the room. This is what I'm saying. This is the point I'm making. If they can get in the room and they're close enough to be able to check airways and check a pulse, then of course they're going to see the blood and they're going to be absolutely horrified. But maybe they can't get that close, maybe because the door is being blocked. We don't know. That's why I'd like to know the exact positions of Xana and Ethan in that room. Because it was said early on in the case that there was a body behind the door, like that they couldn't get in the door. But that was kind of just something that was being said, that was being rumoured. I think, people were talking on the internet and that had kind of come out. I think maybe Steve Gonzalez mentioned it. Zalvi's, not Gonzalez. Steve Gonzalez mentioned it. Maybe. Or maybe it wasn't him. Maybe it was just some... But we don't know. Why didn't they go to the top floor? Why would they need to? Because the issue that they've seen is on the second floor. They don't yet know that there's a problem with Kaylee and Maddie. We don't yet know that. I also think Dylan could have been tripping on acid or something. Possibly. Possibly. Everyone was still drunk and hungover. Yeah, it was a Sunday morning. Who would expect something like this to have happened in the house? Exactly. People need to remember that these kids don't have our benefit of hindsight. Exactly. And, you might be thinking, well, I would have done this, I would have done that, I would have forced the door open. These kids are 20, 19, 20, 21 years old, right? They're all winding each other up. They're all panicking at this point. None of them are probably thinking clearly. And maybe we would have done something different. Maybe we would have gone and checked Maddie's room. Maybe we would have called 911 earlier. But we weren't in their position at the age that they're at. The college student whose frontal lobe isn't fully formed. Also. Yeah. Yeah, 25. Your brain actually reached full maturity. Heard Koberger had a taser with him. Wonder if that's true. Don't know. Don't know. Okay. Patient's not conscious, not breathing. Okay, is there a defib available? Send someone to get it now and tell me when you have it. We don't have one. Unconscious, not breathing. Do you have a defib? Yep. Yep, we have one. So these must be the EMS or paramedic people, because a defib's turned up now. Are you talking to the officer? Yes. Okay, I'm going to let you go since he's there and can help you. Okay, thank you, bye. Okay. Moscow 46 out. Copy. 13, I think we have a homicide. Moscow engine 20 is en route. 1370, 70, 107, I relayed it. So once the paramedics get there, I don't know whether these are paramedics or law enforcement, all these queues. So the queues are the officials and A's are the kids talking. So when Q3 gets into the room, that person seems to be a health professional. Do you have a defib? Yep. So that will be DM, eh? Do you have a defib? Yep. Yes, we have one. And then dispatch, that'll be Carolina Calvin. Are you talking to the officer? Yes. Okay, I'm going to let you go. So once we have names to these, I think it will become easier to understand. I would have been on several things and thought I had a nightmare and fell back asleep. Yeah, maybe. I've heard 5-year-olds more responsible on 911 calls. Well, yeah, but 5-year-olds generally don't live in party houses with a bunch of roommates and they've not been out on the lash the night before. Generally. I would hope. Fire brigade on the way, engine. They may call any like ambulance and engine. I don't know. Don't think it's weird if you have substances. Yeah. Substances, alcohol, being on some kind of come down. You know, they were up to like gone 4 in the morning because they were texting at 4 in the morning. So we're now at almost 12. So let's say they woke up at 10. They've had 6 hours sleep. They're not fully functional yet. They're not fully functional. Transcription has been reviewed with the audio recording submitted and it's an accurate transcription. Okay. So look, until we see the full, or hear the full audio, we don't know how this actually sounded. Like, were the people crying in the background? Like it says in the text here that there was breathing and crying. What was it up here? So we don't know whether there's somebody screaming. We don't know whether there's emotion in the caller's voices is unconscious. Is emotion as in seeing Xana unconscious has really shook them, or it's emotion as in excitable, like, oh my God, what could have happened? And it's just like catastrophizing the situation, without actually fully knowing what's going on. And again, I'd really like to be able to, get that full context before making any comment of any suspicious behavior. Because at the moment, I'm not seeing any. At the moment, what I'm seeing is college kids doing what college kids do, drinking, having parties, having fun. And they, in their wildest dreams, would not have imagined that a man they saw in the middle of the night however creepy you might have seemed at the time, would have been in that house to commit a quadruple homicide.
I wouldn't think that if I was at a party.
Oh, Kyle's just come in. Kyle's 22, so he's the same age range. Kyle, what's your assessment?
What?
Right, so if you were, let's say you went to the house of someone and you were in the same situation as the Idaho 4 were in, that it was dead people. If you were somebody who'd like just gone round to the house and seen someone behind a door, like passed out, would you have imagined that they would have been murdered?
It wouldn't be the first thought that comes to mind.
He says it wouldn't be the first thought that's come to mind.
I'd probably just think they were too drunk and passed out.
He would think that they were too drunk and they passed out. So would I, honestly. I wouldn't go to, oh my God, they've been stabbed to death. That wouldn't be my first go-to. Even though I'm always talking about true crime, it still wouldn't be my first go-to response. Oh my God, you know, they must be murdered. I can't get in touch with them. They must have been murdered. What you're exercising, if you believe that they should have gone there at that time, like when Dylan was trying to, you know, was contacting them all at 4 o'clock in the morning, but she didn't get any responses. She must have thought they were all asleep. You would have thought they're all asleep. I'm just overreacting, but I'm scared. So she ends up getting hold of Bethany, and Bethany says, well, come down here then. She's like, yeah, but I'm scared. So we don't know whether she actually went to Bethany's room or whether she just went to sleep. But she'd have thought, well, I feel shook, but I'm overreacting. And your mind doesn't go to murder. You've got the benefit of hindsight. You're using the hindsight bias. Everybody does it. But you've got to realise that at that time, they did not know that anything was wrong. Even in the morning, they didn't know anything was wrong. It was only when they start putting the pieces together. And then we've got HJ who goes and checks and finds Xana passed out. And we don't know whether HJ or DM or BF could get in the room. We don't know. We don't know. So downstairs, like if like they were all downstairs in Bethany's room, they'd have no idea that there was a bloodbath in Xana's room and then another bloodbath in Maddie's room. We'd never know. We'd never know. They'd never know that. And it was only when Q3 got there, so the first responders got there, that they realised that they've got a homicide. So this is Q4. I think we have a homicide. So Q3 comes in with a defib, and then Q4 says, I think we've got a homicide. So they maybe have just barged themselves in the room. Maybe they've just forced the door, and there's Xana, there's a pool of blood, there's Ethan. So then they start walking around the house. We know that one of those first responders was Brett Payne, who wrote the PCA. And he describes how they walk around the house. He describes who they saw first. They saw Xana first, which is consistent with this 911 call, that they saw Xana first. They know what they're looking for. They know, well, okay, we've got this homicide. We're going to check the entire house. We're going to, of course, they're going to check the entire house. And then they discover the second bloodbath on the 3rd floor. Why did she mention Xana in all black? And then it seemed to swap to a ski mask guy. Don't know, because that part of that conversation doesn't make sense out of context. So we don't know whether what has been put in that motion is the full conversation. We don't know whether they'd spoken on the phone like a few minutes before. We don't know. We don't know what we don't know yet. Like the conversation might have been, like DM might have said, well, you know, I saw someone leaving, and BF might have said, well, was it one of, like, was it Xana? Was it Curly? What? And then, you know, oh, well, Xana was wearing black. It could be Xana. We don't know. We don't know what we don't know at the moment. Well, they got close enough to say not breathing, but don't see the blood. That's ridiculous. Do you not understand what I'm saying? You can't, if you can't get close enough, if you can't get into the room, and you're just looking, and you know, you shout, maybe you're shouting, and maybe you can only see part of their body, then they're not moving, they're not responding. You assume they're not breathing. We don't know whether they actually got in the room to check a pulse or to check airways. We don't know. We don't know who first got in that room. I assume it's going to be the first responders. Yes, we'll find out in court. So I'm reserving judgment. I'm saying at the moment, but with the evidence we've got at this moment in time, I don't think there's anything suspicious about this. I may change my mind when it comes to the trial and we get the full context, and we, you know, we're able to hear the audio, and we're able to look at, you know, there'll be mock-ups of the room, and there'll be, you know, diagrams with the position of the bodies and that kind of stuff. Maybe I'll change my mind. Maybe I'll say, well, clearly they would have been able to get in the room. Clearly they'd have been able to see the blood. Why did they not mention that? I mean, there's no reason why they wouldn't mention it if they saw it. Even if one of them was suspicious, if one of them was involved. They've already called the cops now, so they know this blood's going to get caught, going to get found. So there'd be no reason not to mention it. The only reason that you wouldn't mention it would be if you couldn't see it from your, you know, position that you're in. Maybe none of them wanted to go in the room. Maybe none of them wanted to force the door open and get in the room. Maybe they were all too scared about it. Maybe they're all panicking. We don't know what we don't know. So I'm not going to say that DM's suspicious or anybody else is suspicious for their behaviour until I know the full story. Because as I see it right now, these are college kids who are not thinking straight. It doesn't make any of them suspicious. But Xana's clothes would be ripped with knife wounds. But the conversation about Xana wearing black was at 4 a.m. And that would have been Xana was wearing black the last time DM saw her, or last time BF saw her. Not Xana now with rips in her clothes because of knife wounds. So what you're doing there, Zeppelin, is confounding different time periods. Thought Ethan would have been the first one found, as I thought he was in the hall, but I think his body ended up behind the door, maybe. Again, we don't know what we don't know. We don't know the exact positions of everybody. Ethan couldn't have been in the hall. I know that was one of the things that came out right in the early days, but that couldn't be true. I thought that as well. I thought that Ethan had been stabbed in the hallway because he came out to confront the killer. But if he did, if he stumbled back into the room and then fell inside the room, then maybe the confrontation started in the hall, but then he actually got killed in the room. We don't know. We don't know. What about the spatter? Well, the spatter would be in the room. The spatter's irrelevant to the conversation that I'm having right now. The spatter is in the room. If you can't get in the room, then you don't know there's any blood at all. There, CW's, it depends how much of Xana could be seen. Exactly. They may have only be able to see, let's say, you know, the bottom half of her body. Don't you think the police were a little suspicious? No, not based on what I'm seeing right now. Based on what I'm seeing right now in relation to, you know, these first responders and this 911 call, I don't see anything suspicious. I may change my mind. I reserve the right to change my mind on any case as new information comes in. I can only see what I can see right now and make an opinion on what I can see right now. But anyway, I've got to go. I said I only had an hour, and I absolutely do only have an hour. So while I was chatting there, I did have a couple of donations. Thank you so much, Jennifer, for the $1.99. Hit the subscribe and the like, please do. Thank you, Winchill, for the $9.99. Michelle brings logic and great analysis. Thank you so much. And Alpaca Maid. Thank you for joining. Welcome to the Secret Agents Club. Thank you so much. So on that note, 1 hour spent. That's my opinion as it stands right now. Let's see if I change my opinion at the trial. I may well do. I may well say, look, you know, I gave these kids a lot of grace back during the pre-trial phase of this case, and now I think they could have done better. I don't know. Don't know yet. All right. Thank you all for joining me. Thanks, mods, as always. Thank you to those that donated. We had the unnamed true crime channel, Jennifer and Winchill, and then we had one new member, Alpaca Maid. So enjoy the rest of your day. I've got to go out now. I'll see you soon. Bye, guys.